The Arca Plasmor is a Corpus-built radiation pump-action shotgun that ejects a plasma pulse towards enemies. Sporting a pretty high 600 base radiation damage, 22% critical chance, and 28% status chance, the weapon excels at spreading procs and dealing deadly headshots. While only having an odd 1.6 critical multiplier, critical builds can be viable when fighting certain enemy types and with certain elemental combos. Enemies within 15 meters also may suffer impact procs, which knock them back, and the pulse projectile acts like a single bullet with punch-through, hitting all enemies which touch it. The interesting description of enemies succumbing to radiation just means they will vaporize when killed by the weapon, making it good for stealth if you silence the weapon. This first build here is primarily for Grineer, but could work well for the Corrupted as well. Seeking Fury and Chilling Reload are both added to give the weapon a more reasonable reload time, as well as Laser Sight to boost the critical chance to 48% after landing a headshot, allowing further headshots to deal a total of 3.2 times damage when obtaining a critical hit. While the plasma shot does have punch-through, the direct impact of the center will cause the projectile to fizzle out, meaning the Seeking Fury's bonus punch-through allows the weapon to go through enemies even on direct hits. In addition, despite using shotgun mods and dealing damage across its plasma wave over every enemy it touches, it deals a single instance of damage as if it were a giant bullet, with multi-shot simply doubling the waves it fires out. This means that the status chance is actually more viable, with 96.6% status proccing something on almost every shot. As stated before, enemies within 15 meters will also suffer an impact proc, knocking them back for you to fire another shot, which can negate the need for blast damage for crowd control purposes. In fact, cold damage on the weapon not only allows bonus damage to alloy armor and shields, but will extend the impact proc enemies suffer, doubling their stunning animation. The second build here is to maximize damage at range, as well as boosting the weapon's effective range itself. Laser Sight is now replaced with Fatal Acceleration, increasing the minimum and maximum damage falloff from 10 to 20 meters to 14 and 28 meters, and boosting the range from 30 meters to 42. While it will deal less impressive headshots and crit less often, this allows you to spread the damage in a longer line of enemies, while also allowing the weapon to have more reasonable damage falloff numbers. This third build is my favorite, however, and is aimed toward the Infested, but can be used for any faction up to a point. While the radiation damage will suffer badly versus Ancients and the Infested health type, Chargers, Runners, and Leapers, the gas damage more than counters the radiation loss towards the Infested health type and allows the weapon to spread deadly gas procs to all it touches. The electricity damage is neutral toward Infested, and is added instead of cold to allow almost every shot to stun groups of enemies and allow the gas damage to be more effective. Even better, Laser Sight is once again added for the 48% critical chance after a headshot while aiming, but also Shrapnel Shot, doubling the critical damage after getting a kill. On the next headshot after a kill is made, the weapon will now deal 6.3 times damage, allowing the gas procs to be further boosted. Radiation procs will also disable links that infested Ancients project to nearby allies, such as Ancient Healers, which give nearby light Infested 90% damage reduction, and Toxic Ancients, which will heavily reduce gas damage and toxin procs to nearby Infested. All in all, it's a pretty good weapon versus Infested with this build. As for Corpus, I suggest two options. If you are more concerned about punching through shields, simply swap the positions of Laser Sight and Shell Shock on the Infested build, giving the weapon heavy radiation damage and toxin damage. Radiation procs will prevent enemies from gaining shields from shield ospreys, as well as dealing bonus damage to robotics and the alloy armor Bursa enemies have. The toxin will also allow crits through shields, since critical hits are blocked from said shields, allowing maximum damage while the bulk radiation damage brute forces its way through the shielding. Another option is to go over to the first two Grineer builds and simply swapping Frigid Blast and Shell Shock, giving the weapon radiation, viral, and electricity damage. The weapon will not deal crits until shields are gone and does not ignore shields in any way, but you will have the aforementioned bonuses of radiation, as well as stunning procs from electric procs, and the bonus to robotics from the electricity and radiation damage. Viral will obviously half the health of all enemies and deal bonus damage to crewmen as a result. This elemental setup is excellent versus Corpus, especially with a mag who can quickly deplete their shielding. All in all, the Arca Plasmor is a powerful and fun shotgun to use. I found myself loving the slow fire rate of the base weapon due to getting to watch and hear the pump action motion, and the sound matches the pulse that it shoots out pretty well. Is it as powerful as a 100% status Comb or Tigris Prime? No, and you will find yourself sorely disappointed if you go into this weapon comparing it to other more powerful shotguns. The Arca Plasmor is more of a pulse rifle than a shotgun anyways, and should be treated as one. I highly recommend trying out my suggested builds when you get the weapon yourself, as it can be a solid addition to your arsenal. Thanks for watching.